Good day! Our topic for today is non-current asset held for sale and discontinued operation. So, ang related standard ay PFRS 5, non-current asset held for sale and discontinued operation. So, first, let us define what is non-current asset before we move on to the definition of non-current asset held for sale. So, non-current asset is an asset that does not meet the definition of a current asset. So, lahat ng asset na hindi na-classify or hindi na-meet yung definition ng current asset ay automatically non-current asset. So, current asset, ito yung mga asset na pang short term. Ibig sabihin, marirealize mo agad yung full value nila and nako-convert agad siya sa cash within 1 year or less than 1 year. Kapag naman sinabing non-current asset, ito naman yung mga asset na pang long term. Ibig sabihin, hindi mo agad marirealize yung value nila within 1 year and hindi agad-agad nako-convert into cash. So, non-current asset within the scope of PFRS 5 are property, plant, and equipment, investment property measured under the cost model, investment in associate, subsidiary, or joint venture, and intangible asset. Next is disposal group. Disposal group is a group of assets to be disposed of by sale or otherwise, together as a group in a single transaction, and liabilities directly associated with those assets will be transferred in a transaction. Non-current asset held for sale. A non-current asset or disposal group is classified as held for sale or held for distribution to owner if its carrying amount will be recovered principally through a sale transaction rather than through continuing use. Sabihin yung non-current asset or disposal group ay kinaklasify siya as held for sale kung yung carrying amount nito ay ma-recover sa pamamagitan ng sales transaction or pagbebenta dun sa asset or disposal group. Kaysa sa patuloy na paggamit mo sa asset, mas pipiliin ng entity na ibenta yung asset kasi ma-recover yung carrying amount kasi naman sa patuloy na paggamit kung wala namang marirealize na benefits or mababa yung marirealize na benefits. Conditions for classification as held for sale. The non-current asset or disposal group is available for immediate sale in its present condition, subject only to terms that are usual and customary. So dito, yung non-current asset or disposal group ay sold as seen. Sabihin, wala nang kailangan gawin like repair or modification. Kaya mo na siyang ibenta as it is. And the sale of highly probable as evidenced by the existence of all the following. The entity's management is committed on selling the asset. So yung entity ay committed. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang siya puro plano na ibebenta ko yung asset. So dapat committed talaga sila na ipupush to nila yung pagbebenta sa asset or disposal group. The entity is actively locating a buyer. So hindi lang enough na committed yung entity. So dapat active sila sa paglocate ng buyer para masabi na committed talaga sila. The sale price is reasonable in relation to the asset or disposal group current fair value. So, kailangan yung sinet na selling price ay hindi sobrang layo dun sa current fair value. So, kung halimbawa, ang current fair value ay 1 million, hindi mo pwedeng iset na 100,000 kasi hindi na reasonable yon. So, masyado nang malayo yung selling price sa current fair value. The sale is expected to be completed within 1 year from the date of classification. So, ina-expect ng entity na mabebenta yung asset within 1 year after ma-classified ito as held for sale. And it is unlikely that the plan to sell will be withdrawn. Exception to the 1-year requirement. An asset or disposal group that is not sold within 1 year from the date of its classification as held for sale is reclassified back to its previous classification. So, isa sa condition is ina-expect ng entity na mabebenta siya within 1 year. So, kapag hindi siya nabenta, inire-reclassified back ito sa kanyang previous classification. So, kung halimbawa, ang previous classification ay PPE, and then classified na siya as held for sale. So, kapag di siya nabenta within 1 year, ay babalik na siya as PPEs or i-reclassified back na siya as PPE. However, the asset or disposal group is continued to be classified as held for sale if the following conditions are met. The delay is caused by events beyond the entity's control and there is sufficient evidence that the entity remains committed on selling the asset or disposal group. So, halimbawa, nagkasakuna, so, hindi naman kontrolado ng entity yung sakuna. So, naging delay ito, kaya hindi agad nabenta yung asset. Pwedeng naging delay yung mga fortuitous events kung bakit hindi agad-agad na benta yung asset within 1 year. And, merong sufficient evidence na yung entity ay patuloy na committed pa rin or patuloy na naglo-locate pa rin sila ng buyer para mabenta yung asset kahit natapos na yung 1-year requirement. exclusive view of subsequent disposal. A non-current asset or disposal group that is acquired exclusively with a view to its subsequent disposal is classified as held for sale at the acquisition date if the sale within 1 year requirement is met and it is highly probable that the other requirement is met within a short period of time after the acquisition, usually within 3 months. So, ito yung mga non-current asset or disposal group na in-acquire siya kasi ang plano ng management or ang plano ng entity ay subsequent disposal. So, nasa plano na talaga ng entity na i-dispose agad yung asset. Not classified as held for sale. So, ito yung mga item na hindi siya kinaklassified as held for sale. So, first, property dividends is a non-current asset or disposal group declared as property dividends are classified as held for distribution to owner when they are available for immediate distribution in their present condition and the distribution is highly probable. Next, non-current assets that are to be abandoned include those that are to be used to the end of their economic life or are to be closed rather than sold, and non-current assets that are temporarily taken out of use. Initial and subsequent measurement of non-current asset held for sale is the lower of carrying amount and fair value less cost to sell or cost of disposal. So, ibig sabihin kung ano yung mas mababa sa carrying amount and fair value less cost to sell or cost of disposal. So, fair value is the price that would be received to sell an asset or paid to transfer a liability in an orderly transaction between market participants at the measurement date. Cost to sell are the incremental costs directly attributable to the disposal of an asset or disposal group excluding, ibig sabihin hindi kasama, finance cost, interest expense, and income tax expenses. If the carrying amount is higher than the fair value less cost to sell, the difference is recognized as impairment loss in profit or loss. Pero kapag ang fair value less cost to sell ay mas mataas sa carrying amount, wala ka nang i-recognize na impairment loss. Kapag naman disposal group, ibig sabihin grupo ng asset yung binenta, yung impairment loss ay i-allocate mo muna sa goodwill. So, kailangang maubos muna yung goodwill. Kapag minatira pa sa goodwill, i-allocated pro rata to the other non-current asset based on carrying amount. Actual sale of non-current asset or disposal group. So, dito, di-dispose mo na yung asset or bibenta mo na yung asset. So, carrying amount, the latest measurement versus selling price. If the carrying amount is higher than selling price, merong loss, recognized in profit or loss. Bakit? Dahil mas mababa yung na-receive mo kumpara doon sa value ng asset. If the carrying amount is lower than the selling price, ibig sabihin mas mataas yung nabenta mo, magkakaroon ng gain na recognized in profit or loss. On January 1, 2022, Angel Company acquired a building at a cost of 10 million to be used as administrative office. The building has an estimated useful life of 10 years and residual value of 2 million. On January 1, 2026, the building was classified as held for sale. On such date, the fair value was estimated to be 7 million and the estimated cost of disposal to be is 500,000. On September 30, 2026, the building was sold for 6.3 million. Requirement: how much is the measurement of the non-current asset held for sale on January 1, 2026? So, first, kuhanin mo na yung annual depreciation. So, cost 10 million minus residual value na 2 million divided by useful life of 10 years. So, ang annual depreciation ay 800,000 multiply by 4 dahil 2022 siya in-acquired and 2026 siya hineld for sale. So, that's for a period of 4 years. So, ang accumulated depreciation ay 3.2 million. So, ang carrying amount is equals to cost na 10 million minus accumulated depreciation na 3.2 million. So, ang carrying amount ay 6.8 million. So, ang measure of the non-current asset ay lower between carrying amount, so 6.8 million, and fair value less cost to sell. So, ang fair value daw ay 7 million and estimated cost of disposal is 500,000. So, ang fair value less cost to sell ay 6.5 million. So, the lower between them is 6.5 million and that is the measurement of the non-current asset. So, 6.5 million. Requirement number 2, how much is the impairment loss to be recognized on January 1, 2026? So, magkakaroon ng impairment loss kapag mas mataas yung carrying amount kaysa sa fair value less cost to sell. So, 6.8 million minus 6.5 million is 300,000 impairment loss. Number 3, how much is the gain or loss on disposal of the asset on September 30, 2026? So, ang carrying amount o yung measurement ng non-current asset held for sale ay 6.5 million and then selling price ay 6.3 million. So, merong loss na 200,000. Requirement number 4, if the fair value of the asset on January 1, 2026 is equal to 8 million, how much is the measurement of non-current asset held for sale on January 1, 2026? So, ang fair value daw ay 8 million and then ang estimated cost of disposal ay nanatiling 500. So, ang fair value less cost to sell ay 7.5 million and then yung carrying amount, yung cost minus accumulated depreciation. So, ang carrying amount ay 6.8 million. Ang measurement ay the lower between them. So, ang lower ay carrying amount. So, ito ang measurement noong January 1, 2026. So, requirement B, how much is the impairment loss to be recognized on January 1, 2026? So, kapag mas mababa ang carrying amount at mas mataas ang fair value less cost to sell, so walang impairment loss na i-recognize. So, ang answer sa letter B ay 0. Changes to a plan of sale. An asset that ceased to be classified as held for sale is measured at the lower of the asset's carrying amount and recoverable amount. So, ang initial plan ng entity is held for sale or ibebenta na yung asset or disposal group. And then, nagbago yung plan ng entity, so hindi na siya ibebenta or hindi na siya i-dispose, hindi na siya held for sale. So, ibabalik na kung anong asset siya before. So, kung example, PPE siya before, so i-reclassify na siya as PPE. And the measurement is at the lower of the asset's carrying amount before it was classified as held for sale, adjusted for any depreciation, amortization, or evaluation that would have been recognized had the asset not been classified as held for sale, and recoverable amount at the date of subsequent decision not to sell. So, recoverable amount is the higher of an asset fair value less cost of disposal. So, ito rin yung fair value less cost to sell and its value in use. So, value in use is the present value of estimated future cash flow expected to arise from the continuing use of an asset and from its disposal at the end of its useful life. Mac Company purchased an equipment for 10 million on January 1, 2022 with a useful life of 10 years and no residual value. On December 31, 2023, Mac classified the asset as held for sale. The fair value of the equipment on that date is 6.6 million and the cost of disposal is 300,000. On December 31, 2024, Mac Company believed that the criteria for classification as held for sale could no longer be met. Accordingly, Mac decided not to sell but to continue use it. The fair value less cost to sell and the value in use on that date is 7.2 million and 7 million respectively. So, dito nagkaroon ng change of plan yung entity. So, from equipment to non-current asset held for sale, i-reclassify na siya sa equipment. So, requirement number 1, how much is the measurement of the non-current asset held for sale on December 31, 2023? So, dito, equipment to non-current asset held for sale. So, first, kuhanin mo na yung annual depreciation. So, cost na 10 million divided by useful life dahil wala daw residual value. So, it is equals to 1 million times 2 years dahil from 2022 yung purchase, then classified daw as held for sale ng 2023. So, that's for a period of 2 years. So, ang accumulated depreciation ay 2 million. So, ang cost, 10 million minus accumulated depreciation na 2 million. So, ang carrying amount ay 8 million. So, 8 million and then, ang fair value less cost to sell. So, ang fair value daw on that date ay 6.6 million and the cost of disposal is 300,000. So, ang fair value less cost to sell ay 6.3 million. So, the lower between them, so, ang measurement ay 6.3 million. Requirement number 2, how much is the impairment loss to be recognized on December 31, 2023? So, kapag higher yung carrying amount, mag-recognize ng impairment loss. So, 8 million minus 6.3 million, ang impairment loss ay 1.7 million. Requirement number 3, how much is the measurement of the equipment on December 31, 2024 after the change in classification? So, from non-current asset held for sale, i-reclassified back na siya sa equipment. So, computin muna yung current amount. So, cost 10 million minus accumulated depreciation na 3 million. So, kung yung annual depreciation ay 1 million times 3 years kasi 2022 to 2024. So, ang carrying amount ay 7 million and then recoverable amount is the higher between fair value less cost to sell or tinatawaging fair value less cost of disposal and the value in use. So, 7.2 million and 7 million. So, ang higher ay 7.2 million fair value less cost to sell. So, ang recoverable amount 7.2 million. So, the lower between them, so ang lower ay 7 million. So, ito yung measurement ng equipment. Requirement number 4, how much is the gain on reversal on December 31, 2024? So, ang measurement ay 7 million and then the carrying amount before classification, ito yung measurement ng non-current asset held for sale on December 31, 2023. So, 6.3 million, ang gain of reversal ay 700,000. Next is discontinued operation. Discontinued operation is a component of an entity that either has been disposed of or is classified as held for sale and represents a major line of business or geographical area of operation. So for example, sa SM, ang major line of business na ay department store, supermarket, and yung leasing arrangement niya. Next is part of single coordinated plan to dispose of a separate major line of business or geographical area of operation. So dito, dapat yung component of an entity ay kumpleto or partially disposed para masabi na discontinued operation. And last is a subsidiary acquired exclusively with a view to resale. So for example, Mang Inasal is a subsidiary of Jollibee. So dito sa letter C, binili siya para ibenta ulit sa iba, exclusively with a view to resale. Component of an entity comprises operation and cash flow that can be clearly distinguished operationally and for financial reporting purposes from the rest of the entity. So component of an entity may be a subsidiary, as held for sale, major line of business, and geographical segment. Geographical segment is an operation in another location whose operation and cash flow can be clearly distinguished from the rest of the entity. A discontinued operation occurs when two things happen. A company eliminates or will eliminate the result of operation and cash flows of a component of an entity from its ongoing operation and there is no significant continuing involvement in that component after its disposal. So like I said earlier, si SM, ang major line of business na ay department store, hypermarket, and yung mga leasing arrangement niya. So for example, in-eliminate niya si department store, nagkakaroon na ng discontinued operation. So kapag in-eliminate na niya or wala na siyang continuing involvement, so it is a discontinued operation. CJ Company has two segments, Ivana and Alawi. On October 1, 2022, the Board of Directors of CJ Company decided to dispose of segment Alawi. On November 30, 2022, CJ Company signed a contract to sell segment Alawi but the sale is expected to be completed by March 31, 2023. On December 31, 2022, the carrying amount of the asset of segment Alawi was 8 million and the carrying amount of the liabilities was 3.2 million. So yung carrying amount of net asset, ito yung asset after deducting liability. So 8 million minus 3.2 million is 4.8 million. The fair value of segment Alawi is 4.5 million while estimated cost of disposal is 300,000. So ang fair value less cost to sell is 4.2 million. The sale contract required CJ to terminate certain employees of segment Alawi. The expected termination cost is 300,000 to be paid on August 31, 2023. The accounting records of CJ Company show the following information for 2022. Sales of segment Ivana 9 million, segment Alawi 7 million. Cost of goods sold segment Ivana 4.6 million, segment Alawi 4.4 million. Expenses segment Ivana 1.2 million, segment Alawi 800,000. Income tax rate is 30%. Requirement, how much is the income from discontinued operations? So, sabi sa problem, ang i-dispose ay si segment Alawi. So, dito natin kukunin yung income from discontinued operation ni CJ Company. So, para makuha yung income from discontinued operation, so per sales ni segment Alawi ay 7 million minus cost of goods sold is 4.4 million. So, ang gross profit ay 7 million minus 4.4 million ay 2.6 million. So, less expenses. Ang expenses ay 800,000. Less termination cost. So, ang sabi sa problem, ang termination cost ay 300,000. Minus impairment loss. So, ang impairment loss ay 600,000. So, dahil ang carrying amount ay 4.8 million and then ang fair value less cost to sell ay 4.2 million. So, impairment loss 600,000. So, ang income before tax, so gross profit 2.6 million minus expenses, it's 800,000 minus termination cost 300,000 minus impairment loss sa 600,000. So, income before tax is 900,000. So, income tax is 30%. So, 900,000 times 30%, so minus 270,000. So, ang income from discontinued operation, 900,000 minus 270,000 ay 630,000. A non-current asset or disposal group that meets the criteria for classification as held for sale only after the reporting period is treated as non-adjusting event after the reporting period. A component of an entity that meets the criteria for classification as discontinued operation only after the reporting period is treated as non-adjusting event after the reporting period. Presentation, first, non-current asset held for sale. Ito yung mga single non-current asset na binenta. For example, equipment lang. or inventory lang. It is presented in a statement of financial position. Next, disposal group held for sale. Ito naman yung mga grupo ng asset na binenta. So, for example, equipment and then inventory and then yung mga related na payable sa kanila. Presentation, statement of financial position. And last, discontinued operation. Ito naman yung component of an entity na discontinued or binenta na. It is presented in a statement of financial position and statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income.